Hello, everyone. I'm Alan Hutchison. I'm one of the RMIT Online coaching team. And I have with me a recently graduated RMIT University MBA student, Lourdes Valle. Lourdes, how are you?
I'm very good, Alan. Thank you very much. And thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak with you.
I just said, how are you? But also, and I'm glad you're well, but also, where are you?
Currently, I'm in the beautiful and sunny Perth.
Doing what?
So I'm currently the process engineering manager for our Fuel Resources. So this is a rare earths company. So we're building this project in the Northern Territory.
So you're a professional engineer prior to getting your MBA, and I'll come back to the MBA soon, but just tell us, what are your qualifications as a professional engineer? And it's fascinating because you're a female engineer, not that there's anything unusual about that, but what is a bit unusual is that you're a female engineer in the mining and metallurgy field, I think. So tell us a bit about it.
So firstly, Alan, I'm very driven. Probably that's why I am where I am right now. By background, I'm a metallurgical engineer, but I practice process engineering throughout my career. I'm also a fellow of OSIMM and a fellow of Engineers Australia.
So why did you decide to do an MBA, given all the qualifications you already have?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, Alan. The first thing that came to mind is when I work outside of Australia, and I had this opportunity to work with the senior leadership of some of the projects and the companies we're working with. And I find an opportunity where a lot of the most important decisions in the business are driven by people with mostly business careers and accountants. And yeah, it got me thinking, what if there's a technical person there which happens to have a business background as well? It would be, the decision making would be more informed and more meaningful for the business. So that inspires me to take up MBA.
Wow. Now, the third person with us today, Lourdes, is a person who was one of your teachers in the MBA, Nydia Martinez. Hi, Nydia, how are you? And thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks, Alan. Great to be here with you both.
So just tell us a little bit about your take, I guess, on online education. I can well understand why Nydia decided to pursue an MBA. In a moment, I'm going to ask her why she decided to do it online. But as an online teacher with RMIT Online, what's your take? Is it like second best compared to on campus and you'd only do it if you had special reasons, or is it just as good or even better?
Oh, I definitely think it is at least as good, if not better, especially when we're looking from the student perspective and the flexibility that online learning offers our students. So quite often when I'm offering classes or conducting my webinars, I will have students sitting in cars. I will have students at their workplaces conducting their classes. So the flexibility that it entails online learning really, I think, is a real bonus to very busy people that undertake our courses.
Yeah, that's the flexibility side, and I think everybody can probably understand that. But do you manage to build a kind of interactive culture? I mean, is a webinar like really just an online lecture, or is it something more? And, does the class develop a kind of vibe? And do the students have any kind of interactivity and connection?
Yes, so our online classes are definitely not lectures. And that's actually something that I'm really explicit about in that first class, to say that we are looking to achieve so much more from this community of learners. So what we do is work really hard as facilitators, starting from O week, in terms of having students actually getting to know each other, introducing themselves, and understanding the richness that lies in the class, and really fostering that as we go ahead during the teaching period, so that students are not just learning from us, but they're learning from one another.
But Lourdes, coming back to you, were there reasons why you wanted to study online or needed to study online, besides the fact that you're working? Are there any other things in your sort of personal circumstances that meant that online was perfect for you?
Yes, Alan, it's because I have to I have a young family with 2 small children, and my husband is also working. When I started actually my MBA journey, I started it with face-to-face, and I find it quite too stressful to meet the demands and requirements of the face-to-face learning. So I decided that yeah, why don't I try the online pathway? And I find it very, very, very helpful. Flexibility is one that's guaranteed, but you know, learning at your own pace is one of the biggest thing for me. And I learn a lot when it's in my time. So I studied when I'm riding a train, and I absorb a lot rather than, you know, being immersed in the classroom. And yeah, and discuss things which really isn't going into my head. So yes, I find the online learning much more effective.
So as a postgraduate student, was your experience the way that Nydia's described it? I mean, did you actually feel that you were part of a class of students and that you got to know them?
Yeah, I think it's much more than that. In Nydia's classroom, it's more like a family. Every time we have webinar, we always talk about things and share our experiences. And this is what I like about the cohort under Nydia's class, because we all get to share each other's perspective relating to the context of the course, and that makes it all relatable and very engaging. Because as you know, conducting things online, it's very hard to engage the participants across the other side. So yeah.
Now, you described yourself a few minutes ago as driven, and you'd have to be driven to be a professional engineer in a demanding senior role, to be studying an MBA and not being content to pass, but aiming for the high distinction which you ended up with. Congratulations. And as you said, you've got family commitments too. Do you have any tips for other students? I mean, is there a way of managing so that you can actually cope with all those responsibilities?
Yes. Firstly, I think it's very, very helpful that before you take on MBA, you already have some experience working and experience in life, because you can draw on it and can streamline your learning. Also, what I like with the RMIT online program is that they've given you access to the context of the course way ahead. So what I did is I skimmed them through ahead. I read through the assessment briefs way early on before the start of the lecture, so that when I come into the class, I come prepared, and then yeah, the exchanges are meaningful, and I don't have to cram and try to understand things. But the most important tip there, Alan, is really trying to manage your priorities. Of course, there are many competing priorities, but as a student, as a working professional and as a family person, you have to know where your priorities lie at a certain point in time.
Yeah, I've seen a photo of you proudly holding your, your testimony, your certificate, as you should be proud given the level of performance. And I've seen another photo where your husband and your children are proudly holding it with you. Is it important to you that your MBA is from RMIT University?
Yes, Alan, I'm so proud of it, because where I came from, we're defined from where we got our university. And I think, yeah, RMIT is one of the most reputable schools, not only in Australia, but in the world as well. And yeah, I'm very proud to be an alumna of RMIT.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nydia, back to you as a teacher at RMIT Online. I know that you have many strings to your bow and you have a very complex professional life and you've taught in many environments. Do you find anything special about the RMIT Online, and to borrow Lourdes' word, the RMIT Online family?
Yeah, well, I do think that in RMITO that we are a family, and that then transfers into what we do in the classroom. So how I find RMITO different to other universities that I've taught at is really the passion for teaching. And that comes through in a lot of our facilitators. It is not just a job for many of us, it is definitely our vocation. It's what we dedicate ourselves to. We are passionate about what we do. And there's so much support that's also provided through RMITO coaches, through peer-to-peer learning of facilitators, so that we can really hone in on those skills when we're presenting online and engaging with our students online.
You know, Nydia, as a professional online teacher, working for RMIT Online, are there any avenues where you learn from your colleagues, from the other, and we don't tend to call them teachers, we tend to call them online facilitators because they're facilitating student learning and the students are doing a lot of that hard yakka and not just listening, as you said, to lectures. Are there any ways that you learn from your colleague facilitators?
Yes, so there's a number of different mechanisms that we have in place. We've got a community of practice of our facilitators, and we participate in sessions like Learn and Share, where different facilitators will be presenting on different techniques they've used, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and that's all building our own professional practice. We have other things like for newer facilitators, masterclasses where they can learn from people who have been facilitating online for a number of years.
It does sound fantastic. And look, very sadly, we're out of time. So Lourdes, I'd like you to have the last word and close us off and say goodbye, maybe. So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
There's so much possibilities now, Alan, now that I have my MBA, but one of the biggest things that I hope is I will, this plant that we are designing now, we'll be able to execute it and build it and provide a transformational opportunity for the Aboriginal communities in the Northern Territory. And I would really love to be a part of that one.
That's, I said I'd let you have the last word, but I can't resist saying that social justice commitment that you have, it's something which is absolutely at the heart of RMIT Online. It's in our DNA, and we celebrate that sense of commitment, specifically to Indigenous Australians, but in a general sense, that commitment to social justice and the improvement of everybody's opportunities. So Lourdes Valle and your wonderful teacher for a time there in your MBA, Nydia Martinez, thank you very much for your time, and au revoir.
Thanks, Alan.